Hey gardeners, I'm Sustainable Stace. I hope your day is going great. I think it's about to get better. This just might be the sharpest tool in my shed. Today's episode is all about pruning. We're going to look at 6 different tools you can use for pruning and a simple way to apply the use of each of the 6 in different ways to optimize your production, make your workload as light as possible. Here we go.
I'm Stacy Taves. For me, healthy food and sustainability are totally connected. You can grow it yourself. Nature is generous.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of Sustainable Stace focused on tools and techniques for pruning. I've got 6 different really simple tools, and the biggest thing that hit me as I laid them out on a table is, man, they look really worn. All of them work well, but they've all been put through their paces and they don't look very shiny anymore, but they do the job. I'm just going to show you quickly what each of the 6 of them are. We're going to take each one out in the field and do different things with different ones to see how the use and application of each is. First of all, simply, and I've got a few different pairs, just handheld pruners. There are some that are made for left and for right. You can see sometimes they unhinge, sometimes they have a lock that you can slide so that they stay open or stay closed. But a handheld pruner is probably the most likely thing a person's going to use around their garden. And often you can have a holster or a pouch that fits on your belt, and that way you can kind of keep it handy like a tool pouch and it's ready to go. Let's look at what the next one is. This is probably my favorite one and the one that's changed the game the most for me. It's a simple saw for pruning that's lethally sharp. Man, you can create some great injuries with these if you use them wrong, but used right, this is one of the quickest way to work through different pruning situations. The next one, some big handheld loppers. These are a great way to reach and to get through big things. Just show them to you up close. There they are. Next after that, the 4th would be this one. You've probably seen something like this before, Edward Scissorhands here, and I've got a really unique application for all of these, but this one especially that you'll be interested to see. The next one is definitely for those hard to reach places, and it's got a telescoping handle, and you're able to get it out long ways away from your body and both cut and pull on a little string there that can chop away on a whole lot of things, so those can be really handy. And the final one, which does involve some power, some people have these in battery operated forms. This is a plug-in one. It's just a reciprocating saw, and often when I get into the orchard, this is my best friend. So that's our 6, and we're gonna get busy. Here we go. I've got quite a number of little hand-sized pruners, but generally speaking, the smaller the tool, the smaller the wood or the branch or the twig or the stick you're gonna be cutting through. And if there's only one tool you're gonna get, I'd say this is the place to start. This is a currant bush. And like many berry bushes, you've got to find a way to prune them in spring. You can see brand new growth that's coming up here, some older, more mature growth, and I definitely want to remove some that's here so that it can grow and get better aeration through. It tends to fall over, so I've had to strap it up with some fruit tree ties. But in short, when you prune things and take off the tips, it stimulates more root growth and more branch growth. And so this one, because it's kind of dense, as this starts to leaf out, it's going to have too much wood and too many leaves for proper ventilation. And so cleaning out some of it is going to be key in the pruning process. So a currant would be one of many examples where this type of tool would be helpful. I'll just show you a few other examples of smaller and lesser pieces of wood where this type of hand pruner is going to be most apt. This here is an ideal example of where a hand pruner comes in handy, and it's on herbs. This is a mint bush that's been in my greenhouse over the winter, and you can see all the new growth that's coming off on the mint. It looks beautiful, ready for those mint tea and drying mint, but there's so much dead stuff, and really other than a scissor, there's no other tool that we would use that would do well for this application. So pruning back your oregano or your thyme bush, your rosemary, all types of all types of herbs would be perfectly suited for these types of handheld. Now I'm going to show you another great application for this tool, and then we'll move on to the next one. So another and final use that we could reference for this little handheld clippers on top of the berries and the herbs would be something like grapes. Again, whenever you've got any type of wood stock that's smaller than the thickness of your finger, you can take one spot on a grape where it's going to work to cut it, clip it, find those little connection points along the way, and because it does a pretty incredible job of attaching itself, you can get that snipped off and you've got her. So again, really great on small applications. The handheld pruners work amazing. Let's look at the next tool in the shed. As I said previously, this little beauty with the fold up handsaw has probably been the biggest game changer for me in pruning. Once I got my hands on one of these, I found a lot of medium small branches were incredible. Usually they work best just with a pull, not a push pull, but here's a branch where it's bigger than my finger. I can rest on there, pull once, pull twice, it's done. Now imagine if I went like that and then came through and I was standing close, the ability to cut your leg or to have your hand nearby, oh my goodness. You might want to have a glove on your non-saw hand. But to be able to just pull away at branches like that and cut is incredible. Just make sure you're conscious of safety when you're doing it. It's a great tool on the farm, in the garden. Let's go with this baby, eh? These are beautiful when you can get a little bit of an extension for reaching things, and you can deal with some parts and pieces on trees and shrubs and such that are bigger than your finger at times. This is our fig tree here. Get to a spot like that, get an angle rather than a flat cut, give it one pull and you're through. They work really well for that. I'll show you the other application where for these specifically, they're the only item I use and they're just perfect for what happens to be my most popular item to talk about on our YouTube channel. So let me go check that out and show it to you. This here is probably the crop that gives me the most joy, and this tool is the perfect one to address it. In spring, these thornless blackberries need all of last year's spent canes removed, and the new canes that grew up last year are the ones that will produce fruit this year. Each cane only produces one season. The ones that are very clearly brown are the ones that are cracked and brittle and they're spent. And then often it can be a bit tricky because these ones that look quite red, if you can tell how red this one, they're also spent. And then the green ones are fresh and shiny and ready to grow. Usually from this big root cluster, we just want to come away with 2 or at the most 3 canes that we're going to use. So some of the green ones that are small I'm going to take out as well. These ones, the spent ones at the back, all these others. All these canes are tied up with fruit tree ties at the top. But in the end, as we take those down and out, we're left with, you see all that removed, we have just 2 now that are going to be the producers for this, and we'll just tie those up with new fruit tree ties, and this tool proves itself to be way better than a saw, and a hand pruner can't get through these easily. This is the bomb for thornless blackberries. If you haven't seen our videos on thornless blackberries, check them out. The links are there in the description. They're the best videos we have on YouTube. Let's go to the next tool and some more applications for those prunings. So this is a pear tree that can cause some problems or provide some huge fruit blessings. My tool of choice for this one is a reciprocating saw with an 8-inch blade. This one's plug-in. You can get battery-powered versions. You might, on a scale of a job like this one, even want to use a small chainsaw. All these vertical little branches are called water shoots, and some years if I don't prune it, I'll only get 40 or 50 pears off this tree. It's quite a big tree. But when I prune it well and get off the big pieces of wood with all the water shoots, I can get up to 200 pounds of pears. So the right tool, the right technique, it'll come back as a blessing. Just got to decide what your simple tool is going to be. I'm not sure if you or any of your kids ever watched a show called Inspector Gadget, but this is the Go-Go Gadget tool right here. A telescoping handle. It starts out as maybe a 4-foot long tool, but it becomes double or triple that length, and it's got a long cutting blade on it. Now you can see behind me a plum tree. It's got a tall piece off the top on a branch that's not going to produce, and it's also very hard to reach with a ladder when it's in full leaf and in full fruit. So I want to get that tall one down, and this would be the tool I'd use. Now of course, with every version of tool I'm offering you in this video, there's an automated, battery-powered or plug-in version of it, and there is one that I'll show that's plug-in version, but generally speaking, we're talking about old school, simple tools. You keep them sharp in your shed and they come out, nothing really breaks on them, nothing goes wrong, and they just work decade after decade. So let's just take a go at that one up there, and then we'll move on to the next tool once we got this branch down. I'm just getting in close. I can choose to go under or over. I'm going to go over. And look at that. It's off. We got her down and the tool reaches up, can pull down that cut, and we're done. And Inspector Gadget has his day. Woohoo! This tool is so good. You can get down right at the water's edge, just like that, and it makes everything. See that? It's incredible. Everything goes. So then you can just take it away. Woo! It's raining the snow. This is Smudge, if you haven't met Smudge before, by the way. Our kids joke that he's got the best stem out of all the cats. So these types of pruning shears are of course great for hedges, but they work incredibly well for pond rushes. So super good tool. They do an amazing job in places you would have never guessed. Hey guys, thanks a lot for joining me for this video on simple tools and techniques for pruning. Get a couple of the right tools, apply the right techniques, and you kind of do all the jobs on your farm or your property or around your garden. There's a lot of links in the description for different berries and fruits and herbs on pruning techniques and different tools that you might find helpful. I'd appreciate a subscribe if you haven't given me one of those yet. And until next time, bless you.